August 14, 2025, the sky over the western Pacific was drowned in a leaden gray. I stood on the deck of the U-Schumelt, helmet strapped tight, eyes fixed southward. A faint high-pitched wail pulsed from the Spy 6 radar. Noon spoke. No one moved. On the control screen, a strange signal suddenly flickered. A tiny dot that could be the beginning of a global catastrophe. Off the coast of Luzon, a US P-8 Poseidon dropped a string of sonar into the deep sea, each ping echoing steadily like an anxious heartbeat. High above, a Pero FF-35 circled silently, keeping a safe distance. Meanwhile, in Guam, the operation screen at Pacific Command revealed the full picture. The blockade had closed. No declaration, no warning, only cold blue circles locking Sonya. In place, we called it the first island chain, a steel lattice stretching from the Rio Custo Luzon, from Palawan to the Makastrat. With it, China's largest naval base, became a massive iron box dot, and today, the key was in our hands. But when that box is sealed shut, the skies and seas are only a trigger pull away from becoming a colossal graveyard dot. Could this be the moment that marks the beginning of World War II? A new radar signal lit up from Sonya. 3 Chinese Type 055 destroyers left port. Layers of electromagnetic waves whirled into the sky. They didn't need to speak. Their presence was a declaration. On our side, not a single wave was emitted. MC Khan was active. The entire Allied fleet sank into absolute silence, but no one mistook that silence for weakness. On board the HMAS Hobart, the flank-array sonar picked up noise, a distinctive propeller rhythm, deep and steady, unmistakably a Type 093 submarine. Data was relayed to the U-Santitum, then to Guam within seconds. China thought it was moving STEALTHILY. In truth, we heard every single heartbeat. In the skies, a Chinese KJ-500 scanned with AEW and C, but its screen was instantly flooded with white noise. A US E-D Hawkeye had unleashed a barrage of false signals, painting the heavens with shimmering phantom targets. Inside the Chinese cabin, the crew sat unable to tell what was real, what was a trap dot at the Luzon Strait. Hobart's sonar pings rang out like a defiant knock on the door. Deep below, the Chinese sub quietly dove into the third thermocline. But the deeper it went, the shakier its VUF communications became. Inside the steel hull, sailors held their breath, counting every life or death second. On the USS Zumwalt, I received a report. The Type 055 had locked its radar on us for 3 seconds. One more lock, and we'd butherized to strike back. An FA-18's ALQ-1 for had already spewed decoys, bending the waves, but the distance between restraint and fire was now measured in breaths. If you were a sailor aboard a Chinese submarine, would you dare dive deeper as communications faded in Toslins, or would you risk surfacing, accepting the certainty of being detected? At 7:42, the radar signal from the Lhasa tripled in strength. Every any of our FA-18s was tagged. On the deck off Reagan, the operations commander froze before the console. His hand hovered over the automatic return fire button, then pulled back. Not yet. Boot China didn't stop. From the Paracels, Avley of HQ-9 south strupward, exploding in empty airspace. A wordless threat like glowing embers foretelling what might come. We responded. The A-18G Growlers unleashed their full suite of electronic attacks, making the Type 380 to radar flicker as if dying. Underwater, the Type 093 suddenly surged in speed Tovad's sonar, but in doing so betrayed itself. Hobart changed course. Torpedo tubes opened just one click away. In the chaotic skies, one FA-18 let its radar signature linger too long. Chinese systems caught the cross signal. Their entire weapons suite switched to semi-engagement. One accidental slip was enough to pull the trigger, but everything held still. I heard heavy breathing in my headset. Seconds stretched into epochs. Then, suddenly, hundreds of bundles of chaff and decoys burst like fireworks. On Chinese radar, chaos. PLA officer shouted over comms, "Target lock lost. All targets lost." The South China Sea had yet to hear a shot, but none could say we hadn't clashed. Not with missiles, but with restraint pushed to its limits. And in this age, Semetimus Restaurant itself was the ultimate power. If you were the commander on the deck off USS Reagan, your hand hovering over the automatic return fire button, would you press it or pull back? By 08 to 0, the electronic battle space gradually calmed. The clouds of chaff floated down like slow metallic rain. Anzumal's screen. The Type 055 signals faded. FA-18 pilots dropped altitude, widened spacing. Fingers still hovered near triggers, but none pulled. On the other side, China powered down radars. PLA commanders ordered, maintain radiosonance, avoid collision. No one wanted to be the one to fire the first shot. Underwater, the Type 093 rose to depth. Hobart ceased active sonar. Inside the sub, a few sailors slump a Dagon's steel, exhaling relief. The predator prey game was over. Ausisweda statement, we uphold freedom of navigation. No threats, no names. But everyone knew who it was meant for. In Beijing, crude oil prices jumped that very morning. Cargo ships were rerouted. In the underground PLA command chamber, they understood one island chain could strangle a giant economy. The Pentagon called it a soft victory. Not a single round fired, yet the harvest was rich. Type 3 for 6A radar data. Type 093 tactics, KJ500 response behavior. All stored, simulated, analyzed. Each encounter like this was rehearsal for the next Wenslands might not hold. But civilians paid too. Gasoline prices climbed, goods become pricier. Filipino fishermen for to sail. The world spun on. But the metallic scent of war lingered at ya. If you were the FA-18 pilot locked for 3 seconds, would you have fired? If you were the Type 93 submarine commander, would you dare to accelerate sonar? If you were the fleet commander, would you step back or advance? A day passed, yet in my mind, Theradar's whale and sonars ping silicote against cold steel. The South China Sea was calm again, but no onaboard called it peace. We knew it wasn't a pause. Nothing had ended. By afternoon, news spread worldwide. Global networks criticized Beijing, while military analysts praised the Alliance restaurant. But what stayed with me were the faces of soldiers, friend and foe, meeting each other's eyes through optical lenses. None wanted war, yet all were ready. In Shanghai, crude price aspect, shipping. Firms rerouted to avoid Luzon Strait, now a strategic choke point. Tankers from the Middle East, steel from Australia, ships from Taiwan, all under watch, no bullet fired. Yet global supply chains wavered. Aeon stayed silent. Some nations worried. If war came, where would they stand? On one side, their biggest economic partner, China. On the other, their security guarantor, the US. That silence to me was the wind before the storm. At the Pentagon's emergency meeting, General spoke little. All understood the wake I move in the south. China Sea had only been an opening. The real danger was this. China had reacted like a confident power. And we, though prevailing, so were limits. We could not be everywhere every time. The world was no longer unular, and that made every brush at ya terrifying. I returned to my quarters, gazing out at fading waters. The waves seemed gentle, but beneath them ran strong currents. On the table lay an open regional map, circles marking radar ranges, missile envelopes, UAV patrol zones, sonar corridors. We didn't circle China out of hatred, but because if we didn't, tomorrow might bring more fishermen forced off their grounds, more merchant ships diverted, more islands changing hands. In Thepris' room, a foreign journalist asked, if China fires first, can you strike back effectively? My old commander answered without hesitation, not only strike back, be tended in 18 minutes. Then he looked straight at the camera and added, but we don't want to. True strength is when you can crush your opponent, yet choose to keep your finger still on the trigger. Oil prices surge, fishermen do not set sail. Do you believe that a confrontation without a single shot fired can still upend the world? Scarborough, just a shaw in the sea, yet it has become a symbol of paths for humanity, one of international law, theater of force, and between those roads, every small action, a radar lock, Asner ping, can shape the future. This was not an ending, only a turning point. We didn't pull the trigger. But next time, what if they don't retreat? What if then the world fails to stay rational? What happened today, Mayor Pete? Only with a different outcome. The waves lap gently. Yet I know this whole region is a taut drum head. Oh, no more touch, and it will beat the drum offward. I think of the Filipino fishermen a few miles away without radar, without TACM, without FA-18 cover. If war breaks out, who will protect them? On Fine Turnal Channel, a young officer whispered. We just walked past the edge off World War II and survived. But I felt no relief. For what we dodged today, others may face tomorrow. In Washington, the president met with the Joint Chiefs. No statements, no tweets, no letters, just one cold order. Do not lose a dominance. In Beijing, leaders kept silent, but state media spoke of legitimate maritime self-defense. Both sides knew they had touched the line. A question echoed in me. Next time, if it's real, who will press the button? Or are we all just playing a game no one wants to win because the price is annihilation? A short bulletin from Tokyo. Japan raised East China Sea alert to level 3. Taiwan dispatched more recon planes. Singapore convened an emergency security council. Each move a pebble thrown on still water, rippling countless uncertain waves. Economists skull. Its supply chain contagion risk. Tome, its real lives, pilots, submariners, fishermen, children eating breakfast in Manila or Dong, unaware that just a few clicks away. The world might change color. We didn't pull that trigger, but no one dares assume next time will be the same. China tested that threshold. We proved we could control ourselves. But pride is the easiest fuel to ignite when bruised. I remembered that Chinese commander's eyes caught by a Yuvlin's as he stared straight into an American camera. Not fear, not hatred, just an understanding gaze. And that scared me more than any radar or missile. On social media, millions watched Thebadal without shots in the South China Sea. Some called it a new Cold War. Others mocked a game of chicken. Whoever turns first is weak. But they didn't grasp. Whoever doesn't turn may turn Theosian into a graveyard. A historian wrote, history is not decided by who is stronger, but by who stops at the right time. The sea was calm, but not hearts. Sonia's radar still shone. The island chain still sealed the encirclement. Commanders still spoke wordle slithro tactical maneuvers. A world without gunfire, but not with peace. I stood on the Zoom Waltz deck, staring out at the sea. The rippling waters reflected a crimson sun. I knew there would be many more days like this, and I wondered, how long must we keep playing this game? Scarborough is just a shaw, yet it has become a symbol. Do you believe humanity should choose international law or allow military power to decide? The skies have fallen silent, but fewer is far from over. It has merely shifted to an invisible battlefield. On Zoom's tactical display, the hostile radar signatures have vanished, replaced by anomalous data streams, strings off malicious code silently probing our cyber defenses. China took a step back in the sea, but they are taking a step forward in cyberspace. This is the next battle, a war with no shots fired, where the enemy can silence an entire fleet with the click of a mouse. Fear no longer comes from the blast of a missile, but from the deafening silence when a radar screen suddenly goes black. A young officer whispered, "We just avoided a shooting war, only to be stepping into a much colder one. Join us for the next installment, when the hotline goes dead, the scenario for a loud electronic warfare between the US and China."